According to science, the people who fail the most early in life are biologically wired to eventually beat the early winners permanently. You watch your friends from high school buy their second house and get promotions, while you are still sitting around trying to figure out what you actually want to do with your life. But science says you are not failing. Your brain is just refusing to build a house on an incomplete foundation that is not finished yet. Why do the people who keep stumbling early in life eventually leave the early winners in the dust? What exactly happens inside your brain when you keep changing careers and feeling lost? What is the real advantage of a near miss that successful people never get to experience? And why does a literal switch flip inside your brain at exactly 32 years old that changes everything? Once you know the answers to these questions, you will never look at your life the same way again. You are probably in your 30s or maybe 35 right now. You are not completely broke, you go to work every day, and you handle your responsibilities. But when you scroll through social media and see other guys your age posting about their new startups or big job titles, your chest gets a little heavy. You do not talk about it with anyone. You are the kind of guy who sits quietly in the dark after a long, exhausting day of work, right after turning off the car engine in your driveway. You grip the steering wheel and wonder, what did they figure out that I still do not understand? You get out of the car, unlock your front door, and hide that feeling away in a part of your mind you usually avoid. But at night, when you are staring at the ceiling, one thought just keeps coming back. You feel like you are so far behind. Society handed you a factory schedule. We're told that your brain fully matures by age 25, so you need to pick a permanent path in life by then. But recent brain scans of 4,200 people from MIT and the National Institutes of Health show that this age 25 theory is completely wrong. Think of the brain like a subway or transit system. That transit system is the main focus for today. In your 20s, your brain is actually laying down the tracks for your neural networks. Science calls this period the integration phase. The brain is building connections between different neighborhoods of thought. While these tracks are being built, no express train can run on those lines. Your life feels messy then, because your mental highways are still under construction. On the other hand, the people you see who are incredibly settled by age 22 or 25, their brains actually built a very small and simple transit system. Their track work finished early because their destinations are very limited. They started moving down a specific path very quickly. But your brain is building a massive and complex small worldness network.
Meaning, when you watch everyone else moving forward, you feel like you might be, well, your track is just different. It takes more time to build this larger network. Scientists have found that this track laying finishes right around age 32. Then, the brain completely changes how it works. The brain stops integration, or making new connections, and starts segregation to make those old connections permanent. Your 20s were just the time for laying down the tracks, and your 30s are the time to run the fastest express trains down those lines. You are probably thinking, all right, that is the reason. The brain is just taking its time. Hearing this should help you sleep peacefully, but is reality really that simple? Because no matter how mature your brain gets, when you look at your resume, you just see a bunch of scattered work experiences. You have walked away from jobs that looked perfect to people on the outside. You have walked down paths that did nothing but make your family worry. A lot of people might say that constantly quitting jobs and making your family worry is completely irresponsible, and maybe they are somewhat right, but this partial selfishness is actually preparing your brain for something huge. The famous psychologist Carl Jung studied this exact thing very deeply. He said that if you force certain people into an identity too quickly, it does not make them successful. It actually creates a fracture inside them. Because forcing yourself to stay on the wrong path does not just ruin your career, it completely breaks a person from the inside around age 40, which we normally call a midlife crisis. You might have sat in an office where the cold AC air chilled your coffee, staring at your screen wondering, what am I even doing here? Your internal compass is so sensitive that it absolutely refuses to lock onto a fake or wrong path. If you think this is easy, no, actually, it is not easy, just different. All those times you changed directions were not just pointless wandering. We find scientific proof for this in a massive study out of Northwestern University. Researcher Dashan Wang and his team analyzed the careers of nearly 20,040 scientists and artists. They separated them into two groups with the exact same level of talent. The first group barely succeeded early in their careers, and the second group barely failed. They called this losing group the near misses. Because of those early failures, about 10% of this near miss group permanently vanished from the system. They never came back. But when scientists looked at the data for the ones who survived, they were shocked. Over the next 10 years after that first failure, this near-miss group produced 21% more high-impact work than the people who succeeded early. Why did this happen? Why did the ones who fell behind early end up passing everyone else later? The answer hides inside a specific sequence that science calls a hot streak. A hot streak is a period in life where everything a person does turns out far more successful than average. Science shows that this hot streak never comes from luck or just hard work. It requires meeting a mathematical condition. That condition is exploration followed by exploitation. First, you have to explore. During this time, you will try different things, fail, jump from job to job, and sit with a lot of uncertainty. To the outside world, this entire period will look like you are just wasting time. But your brain is actually doing pattern recognition, finding connections between different situations. Right after this comes the exploitation phase, where you finally focus. This is when you pour all that knowledge you found completely into one specific goal. The data from Northwestern University makes one thing very clear. The people who jumped straight into work without going through this messy exploration phase got stuck at an average level of success. They never experienced that massive hot streak. The years you spent quitting jobs, starting new things just to stop them, and feeling completely lost, those were not wasted years. That was your mandatory exploration phase for your hot streak. You laid down the tracks of your transit system in a way that lets you eventually reach places those early winners can never get to. Honestly, I am not sure exactly when this feeling of being behind completely goes away, because society will always try to remind you that you are different from everyone else. But around age 35 or 40, a shift starts to happen inside you. Suddenly, all that familiar rushing around you or the fear of getting lost just gets quiet. That desperate need you had to prove something to others turns into a deep stillness. The choices that used to take you months to agonize over, you can make them with perfect clarity now. Because you already filled in those empty spaces inside yourself that most people only start to realize exist halfway through their lives. You are not behind. You just built your foundation on ground that can actually hold the weight of your life. While those early winners sit frustrated in their prefabricated glass houses wondering what went wrong, your skyscraper will stand tall right through every storm. That messy journey of yours was actually your greatest strength. What do you think? Does society intentionally force us to pick a career at age 20 just to keep the corporate machine running? Or has society just totally failed to understand this different biological timeline? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because your one perspective might literally change someone else's life.